wish we stayed the same. I got way too many thoughts in my brain, but I got memories that run through my veins. I'm not one to blame, but I could point out every way that you changed. Some things stay up while others go right down the drain. And lately we've been going down in flames. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm my therapist is saying that I should. I don't believe it, but I really wish I could. Instead, I guess I'll stay misunderstood. Oh, 'cause I'm stuck now, just trying to figure a way out. I've tried but can't seem to slow down. I don't know if I want to. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm can't seem to slow down, and I don't know if I want to. Colder when you're frozen over like I am. It's colder, colder when I'm older, older than I am. And I know you know that I have lost composure, but I'll hold you closer while I can. I never told you that I'm slightly broken, that I might lose focus when I am. I know you know that life gets colder, colder when you're frozen over like I am.
watch you explore. Imperfect visions, like I've been here before. Falling faster, I try to ignore. I see you, I see you. I'll let you drag me to hell if you hold my hand.
don't have any wishes, but when I kiss you, our lips fit well, and I don't have expectations, but when I daydream, I fall asleep, and our hands melt. It started out as teasing, but I had deeper meaning when I touched your chest. Now I don't know.
You'll still have common days. Put off your term papers till the last minute. Eat cold pizza right out of the fridge. Update your fantasy roster. This is not one of those days. A few weeks a year and you'll discover the most uncommon time of your life.
NECC League of Legends playoffs action. Of course, we had a little bit of a week break, and now we get right back into it. Teams are vying for the top positions, whether in the winner's bracket or the lower bracket. Either way leads to some exciting matches, which we will be getting to very shortly. Div 2 is on the horizon, but my name is Orbital. You might have seen me before, but Quacks will be joining us here for today's matchup. Quacks, how you doing today?
It's awesome to be here, Orbital. I'm doing really good, even better now that I get to be on the NECC. It feels like the cast that I have on here are few and far between, but it is always a pleasure to be servicing the crew here and servicing these teams at being able to cover their series tonight, Orbital. And yeah, overall, like you said, the stakes are starting to get up there now that we are in the playoffs, but still in that best of three category. So I am expecting that most of these teams, the ones that we're casting tonight included, should still be able to have most of their comfort picks unlocked for most of these games, and we get to see their best here in the best of three.
Of course, the best is what they hope to bring. This is Fanshawe College going up against Illini Esports Blue. These two squads have been duking out here in Div 2 in the West Central Playoffs Division. Now, these two schools, we got HTK 777, Yemeni, as well as Horus, Mbu, and Guru for the Fuel Esports side. For Illini Esports Blue, Hannah 2608, Third Full Sugar, Ilio, as well as JKL.
Yeah, and, you know, as the new guy here, don't have a ton of knowledge on the players individually, but rank-wise, I mean, this is around D1 Masters, so I do expect that we're going to have a nice mix, a nice sort of combination of those meta picks on top of the spicy stuff that we have been seeing from players who are more akin to their solo queue picks being actually available and playable in a meta like this, where all champions can kind of thrive in their own right. So that'll be interesting to see which players decide to go for some of those more comfort picks over those who decide to go for the more meta stuff, as that has been pretty clearly defined as we are around 4 months into the year at this point. So everyone knows what's good in their role.
Yeah, and I think for some teams, it's been a little bit more apparent across their own divisional play. You mentioned before that you don't have as much experience with, you know, some of these teams in the NECC, and that's true. NECC provides such a wide range of coverage, whether it be Div 1 to Div 2, all the way down to, I believe, Div 5 and Div 6 across multiple different esports. So we reached out to some of the teams to get a little bit of insight into what they like to play, how they like to play, and what brought them to this measure. And when we talked to both these squads, it was quite apparent that they both have some direction questions in there that bring out the uncommon reason why they are here in these playoffs. Starting off with Fanshawe, a squad that for the Fuel Esports side, they themselves said they got here in a kind of interesting way, went 4-3 in the West Central Div Group B, which was quite interesting. But for them, they have a little bit of a story coming into this. Starting off in the regular season, they went up against Illini Esports Blue, lost in the regular season. So here on the day, they're really hoping that their progress through the regular season will shine brightest here in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you can also see on this graphic, top lane dominance is a big factor for them here, and I do think that it is going to be a main point of discussion amongst us, Orbital, in this best of 3, because HTK, we were talking about the mix of comfort, the mix of meta picks that could be seen in this series, and I do think that HTK, their top laner, is definitely a player that kind of leans more toward the former. We see a lot of Fiora, we see a lot of Camille. Jax has been pretty meta so far, I think, this year. If you look at a lot of other scenes, some top laners will pick Jax as more of a counter than anything else, or something that can draw pressure into the side lanes. But that Fiora, Orbital, is really something that I'll be looking at to definitely check in on as we progress, and something that will always be, I think, a talking point whenever we get into the drafts, no matter what game we're covering.
Yeah, it's such a wide range, I think, when it comes to you know, how you want to get ahead, and specifically for the Fuel, they were even talking up HDK, saying in multiple reasons for their series they have leaned on HDK to kind of set the pace. And when I asked them, you know, who to watch out for, HDK is kind of that trendsetter for the team. Loves to stat check, loves to skill check an opponent, and say, hey, if you're gonna throw hands, you better throw hands strong, and if you don't throw hands, well, I'm gonna run you over. Which is why we want to see more of that comfort drafting, not just from Fanshawe's side, but also just from their individual play throughout. On the opposite side, Illini Esports Blue, a little bit different. They come into this a little bit more uncommon than most. Reason being is they have actually toppled a lot of top dogs through continued understanding of the meta, while also looking towards that top lane for victory.
And I think a lot of teams at the higher level will tell you it's a lot more difficult to carry through top lane just solely relying on the meta picks right now, because most of the time you see things like the Ornn, you see things like the Nard. These aren't your perennial carries, and so I do think that it creates a really interesting blend when you look at this team and you see that they are playing a lot of the meta stuff that usually entails playing and kind of siding toward the bot lane and trying to get them ahead, but also having that top lane dominance tag on them alongside Fanshawe, where they will be trying to play around Hana, where they will be trying to accelerate him in this game, because he does have a champion pool full of those fighters and those bruisers that can really carry a game if ahead. And it just kind of leaves you with multiple questions of which lane are they actually going to go for? Are they going to stick with the meta and kind of play toward a trait that we have already talked about, where bot lane has kind of been the perennial place where you look to drive home a carry force? Or are you going to be trying to push your luck up toward the top lane in a matchup that, frankly, could go either way?
Yeah, I think both teams specifically stated that they were looking at the top lane as a little bit of a coin flip, depending on who gets the early kills and who gets certain champions. But not only that, for Illini Esports Blue, they were very proud of themselves, not only because they've already beaten Fuel before in the regular season, but they kind of overcame their own demons. They were able to take down Weber State University Purple, the 3rd seed moving into this, and then Texas A&M Maroon, who were the 2nd seed moving into the playoffs, but were the 1st seed in the West Central Group B. So beating multiple demons and now trying to continue that run of excellence throughout this playoff run here in the winner's side bracket. This BO3 will have a lot to show for. I want to give a big shout out once more to the fact that those uncommon traits are brought to you by the Army National Guard. Find your calling at nationalguard.com. Quacks, though, looking at this game, number one, we have gotten a little bit of information. The fact that for Fuel, they will be looking at the red side to start things off with Illini Esports on the blue.
And red side obviously entails going counter pick, and I think that this creates a, again, really interesting dilemma, really interesting question for how much value they actually put in top lane, or where they, I guess, want to put that value. Because I think a lot of teams will tell you that if you have R5 available, most of the time you want to give that counter pick over to top lane. But at the same time, you've got these comfort picks that could be banned away. If I were to be a gambling man, Orbital, I would be willing to bet that Illini Esports would probably target a lot of those bans to the top lane. So I think waiting for R5 does come with inherent risks of having some of those comfort picks of HTK banned away. But at the same time, if you decide, hey, we're going to just try and pick a top laner right out of the gate, you have maybe given an opportunity over to the opposition to counter pick you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think following through with that, when we talk about some of those oddball picks, the meta shift comes in as how are you going to support this top lane if that's where you're funneling everything. When we looked at the Illini Esports Blue, a lot of the picks, the more meta standard, came in the jungle, in the mid, in the ADC, and the support.
Yeah.
Mid specifically had a lot of Ahri, and then the jungle role, 2608, I think specifically has been grinding the Pantheon, the Wukong, the J4, a lot of very stable enablers is what I like to call them in the draft that allows maybe a top lane to get a little bit more explosive, a little bit more silly in there. So 100%, if you're going to ban out HTK, the other side is, are you going to go for allowing, your top laner to flourish? Diving into this, though, it's already on identification. Horus will receive the first ban with the Rise ban, very specifically targeted towards that mid lane.
I think a lot of this is just going to come down to what champions are the most lethal on 1-2. Rise is a big one. Xin Zhao, or Pantheon's a big one. Xin Zhao is another one. We did talk a little bit about the comfort picks in bot lane and also the meta picks in bot lane right now. And I think to the credit of the meta picks in bot lane, a lot of teams have been targeting Ashe Seraphine. They've been targeting Yunara Lulu. You can see the Ashe is already banned away. So I wonder if we're going to be seeing any more champions taken down over that area, because both of these AD carries are very good. They do have also some carries in their pocket. I'm looking at the champion pools right now, and I see Aphelios being the most comfortable for Illini Esports Blues AD carry. And then at the same time, you look over at Fanshot, and their most common pick is the Twitch. So these are both carry champions that Yunara, though, going to be taken away nonetheless. And I do think that this is maybe opening up the door, Orbital, for a potential... it depends. Do they really want to open up with jungle, or do they want to open up with AD carry? There's so many broken picks right now.
Yeah, and especially when you're focused in on some of these more meta or comfort picks, it does leave a lot of these more explosive champions available. The Aurora, the Ahri, and the Pantheon, 3 top-tier picks in almost every single lane, all denied away. A little bit more focus on to third full sugar, the mid laner for Illini Esports Blue, but it is a straight-up top lane pick for the side of Illini. They have opted for the Mbessa, so Hana kind of throwing down the gauntlet and saying, look, if we're going to play top lane, we're going to play top lane, and we're going to dance on dance. An answer of a Jhin back, though, a little bit more safe for Boo in that bot lane.
And this just kind of feels like you're setting up for carries on the top side here. Jhin isn't typically a strong side ADC, so I think you're going to pair it up with something like a Bard or something that can leave the lane to try and give a little bit more agency over to that top side. We can already see the Zac as well being locked in. Does... I think give an inkling of information over to us that this is going to be a kind of early to mid game gank fest from the Zac. Yeah. He really struggles in the clearing department, so I wonder if we'll see him maybe skip over some camps in the first clear, as this is a champion that really does struggle in that department particularly, and that's a core defining trait of AD carries. But a core defining trait of bot lane is Ezreal Karma, Orbital, and UC are just going to lock that one away straight out of the gate, along with the Mbessa. This is a very strong 1-3 for them so far.
Yeah, very much in line, being able to play much further away from the Zac, as well as the Nautilus now locked in here. So for Fuel, still going with the engage. I do enjoy this. It does mean that you can get a little bit more explosive inside your own top lane and your mid. So a little bit more push coming in from Horus as well as HTK. But this top side is what we're kind of looking for, or maybe even the jungle side. That is going to be an Aatrox ban out, targeting a little bit more towards that jungle. I want to say jungle top, because I believe Hana and 2608 do have some meshing overlap with that Mbessa. We're still trying to figure out exactly where that's going to go. But for UC saying, look, the Camille, we have to start taking out those top laners. There's one champion that's still open, by the way, that I am surprised neither team has grabbed so far.
Yeah, Camille's still there. I mean, the Fiora's still there. There are plenty of champions, plenty of carries that are up here for HTK if he wants to decide to go for them. Camille going to obviously be banned away. But I am looking at other things that could go on here for Alani Esports, and I think that there's a good amount of engage from the Ambessa. It's a good snap go button, but it needs follow-up that I just think they don't have so far. So I'm really looking at mid lane to try and be that follow-up. I think that Ari is still open. The Xin Zhao is still open. These are two champions that I think that they should honestly just slam at this point, especially if they want to deny a good buddy or ball carrier from the Orianna, because there are plenty of those still open.
Yeah, there are. I mean, it's still leaning into it, so you can see Alina Esports Blue kind of drifting a little bit more towards that disengaged value. The Syndra in the Orianna matchup, not really anything to write home about. This is more of a setup for the rest of the squad, which is where we're seeing Alina look at quick grab of that Xin Zhao that you mentioned, so it is an Mbessa top lane. Here comes the fun part, though. We were mentioning both these teams have eyes headed towards that top side. How explosive do you wish to be in the early stages? It's a Garen pick. Doesn't want to use the Fiora just yet. And remember, it's fearless. Whoever grabs the Fiora will be the only player to use it for this series. So it's Mbessa versus Garen.
And Garen, I think here, it's tough to say the intrinsic value this champion will get outside of the laning phase, because you look across the board onto Alani Esports' side, and you do see a healthy amount of engage with this Ambessa and the Xin Zhao. Those champions are obviously going to be going into you, but then there's Poke, there's Disengage, there's Peel on the side of Ezreal and Karma and Syndra, and these are all champions that I think Garen will have a lot of trouble getting to unless the Zac or the Nautilus are able to actually close that distance. So this Poke comp, I think, is very good at being able to deal with a Garen. If he doesn't get ahead in the laning phase, I think he will struggle. But everywhere else, I think that this is really solid. Again, anytime a Jhin is locked in, though, Orbital, you have to imagine that this is probably going to be a game where top side is key. And I think that rings true for both of these teams.
Yeah, I like that for Fuel, even though that they drafted the Jhin, the Orianna, some of these champs also outside of what we normally see. The Zac is one that I personally just don't see in a lot of high-tier competitive play. I like that it's still cohesive in its own way. For the Fuel, they specifically were talking about, hey, we want to play as a team still. We want to always have that cohesion as a squad, and still their draft does define it. Whereas you look at Alina, and they're just like, dude, we grabbed all the meta picks that we could possibly want for game number one. Like, if we don't win this, we're going to be frustrated. And remember, in their previous matchup in the regular season, it was 2-1. For the side of Illini Esports Blue, they mentioned that even though we won, we still want to respect the spice that the Fuel is able to bring out in their own composition. So grabbing 5 meta picks, slamming these in, saying we are going to play strong for game number 1, gives them a chance to kind of get a little bit flexible with game 2 if they can pull out a game win.
Yeah, it does. And I also do want to look over at the notes that you provided me, Orbital, before we did actually go into the series. And you said that Hana note was he plays like Bin. So I am
that was his words, not mine. That was his words, not mine.
I am going to be, as someone who has literally talked about BLG, I am going to be holding him to those words because I just casted Bin like a few days ago. So this is the definition of gassing yourself up. And I do think that in a game like this, playing like Bin might get you killed a few too many times than you want to, simply because looking at the Ambessa, you know, we were worried a little bit about the lack of engage, lack of follow-up that would go there along with Ambessa. So I am worried about that. If he ults and doesn't have people around him to actually help him out, then I think we can get a little bit concerned. But there's the Pengu Garen onto the Rift with the Ignite, I might add, and that just adds more fuel to Fanshawe Fuel's desire to play to that top side.
I love it. We're already getting a lot of the action thrown down here, so get loud and get proud for these two squads. Winner of this winners finals will move on to the grand finals stage, where they await the lower bracket to finish up. It will be a long, healthy break for them before they ever see their opponent, but they'll have a lot of time to strategize and to figure out what went right and maybe how to shore up some small patches depending on how this series goes. I'll be very interested to see how it works out as the opponents do meet each other, and the junglers do opt to start on the bottom side of the map.
You can see both junglers also starting, yeah, like you said, on that bottom side of the map. So they're going to be pathing up, really paying respect over to that top side like we anticipated. But already we can see 2608 is actually moving as there's a 2v2 in the bot lane.
Okay, and this is also something that you and I have seen through multiple stages of play. A lot of people getting really aggressive, but this is actually to match out the fact that 2608 is invading, want to push Guru and Boo a little bit further away, ensure that they don't get a lot of freedom to help their jungler, which has allowed 2608 to lose a little bit of HP, but stall out Yemeni's push in the jungle.
Yeah. Has done a really good job, and I'm actually a little bit surprised that Fuel were as caught off guard by that invade as they were, because they had a ward on those Raptors. They could see where 2608 was going as hang on.
Uh-oh. Oh, well, that's going to be annoying, as this is going to be a 1v1.
shield?
Hand check is there!
Ooh!
And that's the Garen, baby! HGK coin flips it and comes out with first blood.
And it's a swing of the sword right onto the head of Hana. First blood for the Garen, and just the kind of start that the Fanshawe Fuel wanted. He'll be able to push in this wave and get a clean reset. All the while, Zach is pathing up toward that top side. So without the flash from the Ambessa, there is possibility for a regank orbital.
Yes, there is, and I feel like this was a very nasty turn of events. Very, very strong overall. As I do apologize. I do apologize. It looks like we have a little bit of a technical issue. Very tough signs. I mean, listen, when a Pengu Garen gets a first blood in that nature against an Mbessa, of course it's going to break the game.
You got to process
100%.
it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the Riot servers are like, guys, I don't think that was supposed to happen. I don't know what happened. But it goes to show once again that both top laners are willing to throw down, which I highly appreciate in a meta where normally, like you said, we see a Sion, we see an Ornn, a lot of these enabling top laners. It is refreshing to see some of these players go a little bit tit for tat.
Yeah, so already the top laners willing to scrap with one another. I think that that is very indicative of not only what we are going to come to expect from this game, where they're just going band for band with each other, but also the series at large. I think we're both anticipating that top lane will be the central focus for both of these teams. But while that was all happening, I mean, we did see a good amount of aggression come through in the jungle, right? I mean, we're invading as the level 2 Xin Zhao onto the Zac. And this is something that we kind of talked about as a possibility for a champion like Xin Zhao. This is a character that thrives in the early game and is really good at making proactive plays. Zac can do the same thing, but he's very, very slow at clearing. Yeah. So I like that the Xin Zhao starts Raptors and takes advantage of that and says, oh, he's totally going to be on this Gromp. Like, we know that for a fact because he clears so slowly. So it does delay the Zac, but I'm curious as to what the ramifications are going to be from that. Because once Zac hits level 3, I don't really think it matters. Like, he didn't burn his flash either. So I think that Zac doesn't necessarily need gold in order to thrive. And if you're going to be pushing him off of camps this early on and trying to bully him this soon into the game, not only do you have to make sure that those resources get denied continuously, but you also have to make sure that you're tracking this guy, because if he doesn't look for a camp angle, he's just going to look for a gank angle, and that's much better.
Yeah, I mean, the gank angles are terrifying. It's the whole reason that Zac, as a champion, is terrifyingly broken at points. He used to be a solo queue monster in terms of how easy it was to access the lane. So I 100% agree. I would like to note as well, it's the fact that Fuel themselves actually had a ward down on, I believe, 2608. They were the ones that were originally
they saw
tracking.
the Raptors.
Yeah, they were originally tracking, and the fact that they opted into still going that same side, it's the almost matches like, we understand what's going to happen, and we're going to play it through still to our own comfort level. So I do wonder if there's a point where if we see 2608 get a little bit too in their head about trying to invade, trying to catch the Zac off guard, where we all of a sudden see just like, dude, Yemeni's going to play his own game, and he is going to almost outspeed 2608. That, I think, is... It could be a real concern in there and could influence this game on.
Yeah, but I think so long as, I mean, part of the reason why that Xin Zhao invade was possible was because we saw push from the bot lane. The Karma Ezreal had managed to shove in that wave and join up with him to be more aggressive, to posture aggressively on that Gromp. So I think so long as, like, the priority from the lanes entails that you can actually do that and allows you that possibility, I say go for it. Like, honestly, like, just go crazy, man. Like be in his jungle constantly. Like, if your team is able to link up with you and make those invades possible, and like they've got the priority to do so, good strategy, honestly.
Yeah.
A+, and like that might be a bit more difficult now that, you know, enemy top lane got first blood and will be coming back to lane with an item advantage. But
Yep.
the whole point is to get that priority, get those invades so that the Zac can't visit top lane. So I guess by extension, you are helping the matchup by denying a resource from the Garen.
Yeah, not only that, it will be looking, we will be looking to match pace with that as third full sugar and Horus start to get into the mix as well. These are two champions, the Syndra and the Orianna, that also slot into the we want to fight with our jungler, we want to make moves around the map. They can help influence a lot of these pieces of the puzzle. And as we look towards the top side, as you said, the Zac roaming up there, I am curious, do we expect these mid laners to roam out, or do we expect them to more sit in the middle? I mean, we knew it was going to be a little bit more calm in the mid lane, specifically farming up maybe till level 6. Do we expect them to rotate out if we do see the junglers fight again?
I mean, I would say the Xin Zhao, yes. I do not think necessarily that Zac needs his mid laner to roam to a lot of plays, especially as he gets more points into that that elastic slingshot. I mean, that thing can come from Narnia. So I don't really think that he needs assistance in trying to make those ganks work as the game progresses. But I do think that Xin Zhao is a champion where you do have the damage, you do fall off a little bit, so you might need that assistance to keep yourself relevant and to keep yourself strong, because if you don't get those resources, you're going to be running on empty, and eventually you'll just be kind of a peel bot for the engages that Fanshawe will be trying to throw at you.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. It's going to be a very difficult, you know, little balancing act, but it's going to be fun either way. I think when we see the Zac and what we hope the Zac can do in the future, it makes me very excited because, again, for Fuel, they specifically were talking about the fact that they did want to play these comforts. They want to stick to their guns and force maybe some of these awkward bans to come out on this side. It keeps them unpredictable to an extent, and playing within that variety has led them to this playoffs. They were off to a little bit of a rocky start. They specifically themselves were a little bit surprised that they made it to playoffs, but once they hit playoffs, they were like, hey, this is great. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we were they came out, I believe they're currently the only team that between the two of them, I believe they're the ones that 2-0'd both opponents heading into this winners finals. So riding quite a bit of a high for almost their revenge matchup, and that's what I'm kind of excited to see. We are just about back in, so I do want to give a big shout out once more to everyone tuning in here, and we do appreciate your patience. And to remind you that, as you can see in the top left of your, this way, the Forge Trials, big heads up and a big shout out to the side of NECC. The NECC playoffs does run into the Forge Trials. That is, of course, presented by the Army National Guard. Find your calling at the nationalguard.com. Once again, that is at nationalguard.com. You can check out all that the Forge Trials have to offer, I believe, in May. Keep eyes out for more information regarding that.
And it looks like we're back. A little time has passed. Another kill has happened, and everyone is starting to ding into level 6 orbital, so it looks like the time was well spent for the Fanshawe Fuel, as, I mean, that top lane matchup needle hasn't moved an inch, but it is worth noting Jhin getting their first kill, so Boo is going to have maybe a bit of an item advantage or damage advantage compared with the paired with the Nautilus compared to this Ezreal Karma.
I wonder how it came about. It does look like that Yemeni actually traveled to the top side, immediately went bot. A little bit of a shake and a wiggle down there. Not only that, caught 2608 completely off guard. So as he said, eyes out for how well this Jhin plays. In the mid lane though, Horus starting to get a little bit of advantage, racking up a pretty decent CS lead in the mid lane. Because of what looks to be a little bit of a cheater recall, decided to run that TP over a Ghost, which third full sugar opted to take instead. A little bit more combat explosiveness and maneuverability in there. 2608. Looking for a steal, able to flash, steal one away. A wild way to deny all three grubs. And now looking for a little bit of a mid lane gank. Good stab at Horus in the mid, but now it's getting caught out by Yemeni, who draws that in with a shockwave to boot. Crescent guard to keep you safe for the moment. And it will be 2608 to step on out. Was it worth?
I mean, you continue the push here in mid. The Orianna is obviously going to keep third full sugar under their own tower, so this is a really good start for the Ori as well. Only has the tier plus the amp tome, by the way. Meanwhile, there's a lost chapter for the Syndra, so I actually think there's probably a lot of gold for the Orianna. I think if you shove in this wave, that is probably the best time. You have TP as well, so I have to imagine that Horus has a lot of gold sitting in the coffer, and that's something that you're going to want to spend in the next 90 or so seconds, because we do have that dragon coming up. Fanshawe Fuel obviously are the team that got the first strike off screen, so that win condition, if they can keep that alive, going to benefit them greatly.
Not only that, it's a chance to kind of look at revenge, but for the side of Illini Esports Blue, they want revenge in a whole different way. HTK getting ganked, but there's the snipe with the public execution, and Hana says, you might have Ignite, but you don't got the HP, and gets revenge, thanks to a little jungle assistance.
Yeah, a bit of a costly kill there. Flash and ult burn from Hana, but no TP on the Garen does mean he's going to miss this entire wave, likely, and then some. And those plates as well going to go over to the Ambessa. So even though it's the Xin Zhao getting the kill, that gold difference certainly going to be equalized amongst the top laners. But now we see the Xin Zhao still on that top side, opting not to go for a reset. So 30 seconds until this dragon spawns. Fuel should have good control over this objective.
I mean, I like that idea of them moving in for the objective dominance, but at the current moment, JKL and Ilio, both of them are having a little bit of trouble here in this matchup. Boo and Guru, after that kill on the bot side and the assist, it does feel like Boo has had a little bit grander time stepping up. You can see the multi-wards that they're currently layering down, saying, hey, you're not going to have that freedom. Pink ward versus pink ward, but a little bit further ahead here for Boo and Guru in the bot side, getting control over that river brush.
We could see that Yamani is moving on down. Horus is at about half HP, but I think that if you have a front line of Zac plus Nautilus, you should be relatively well protected. There aren't a lot of flank angles possible.
Oh! I saw that coming, and I didn't know if Horus was going to call it, but you do, to draw eyes away from the second hit in the Dragon Pit. Fuel keeping control around there and sniping that dragon off spawn.
Yup, so second Drake going over to Fuel, all the while a mid lane solo kill happening.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Looking for an angle.
And I like it. Angle is flashed away from the Arcane Shift, is able to get you to safety for the moment. In comes the Crescent Guard with 2608 running interference, and it looks like they've done so. Boo a little bit too far away with a true shot barrage.
Oh, they got the cell division.
Beautiful turnaround here for Ilio on this Ezreal. They will take the Bloblets out. They will collect yet another head. And that puts Illini Esports Blue in a tie position in the kill count.
Yeah, 2608 has been really good with these proactive plays. First in the top lane and now in bot, just making sure to put out fires on these side lanes. Ilio is also going to be able to get a couple of plates for his efforts on top of the kill that was collected there in the bot lane. But that last play, a little bit of a blunder from Fuel. I mean, they missed a lot of their initial skill shots, and then on top of that is, Xin Zhao keeps making plays, Orbital.
It's well within line of 2608, and I do feel like this is accelerating the idea for both squads. When you see 2608 moving around the map at a much quicker pace, sacrificing a little bit of the jungle route, it almost feels like there's a difference on the other side, because HTK also roamed into the enemy side. However, HTK is much, much stronger, I feel like, as a Scout of the Week is going to miss, but Hana is able to get into position. HTK running away from enemy position, but look at the rest of the team here. What a draw. Horus once again with a solo shockwave, drawing everyone else into the battle. Nice Scout of the Week to slow down too, but public execution will keep the damage rolling. Hana now jump into 4 with not much else to help, and is looking to try and sprint their way to safety, but a good catch by Yemeni.
Empowered Blast Cone is right there.
In eyes. Blast Cone, as he called, is available, but can you find it out? No, you have to sprint further into enemy territory, and now JKL is here to help out. This is turning into a very awkward 4v4, and it works in favor of Illini Esports Blue. Welcome to the Thunderdome, as Illini Esports Blue show up big to save their top laner and gift a double kill.
Ilio?
Bot side ADC for ADC will draw eyes around, as that's the curtain call to be brought out. Ilio able to stay alive, and no one goes down in the bot side. But my god, what is going on here? UIUC looking for the jungler, and they will find it without losing their own.
And UIUC are just dominating on the map. Fanshawe Fuel are running on empty. They're completely out of gas. That first solo kill up in the top lane, providing a modicum of hope, only for it all to be snuffed out. So much gold going over to the blue team Orbital. And now, no objective up for a couple of minutes, but all of that gold will allow these breakpoints to just really come through for a majority of the members on UIUC.
And I don't think they're even worried. Not even the fact that third full sugar is starting to get hammered again. Remember, without the team fight, Horus has been winning this mid lane. Explosive, about 20 CS lead in the mid lane. But third full sugar said, hey, I got 2 kills. I now have the upgraded merc treads in my back pocket. An early extra Lycanic Rukern. It's brutal. Which means these solo shockwaves are going to lose impact over the course of this game if that's what Horus decides to do.
And I really got to give a lot of credit over to 2608. We were a bit worried in the first few minutes of the game, and after we came back from that long pause about what the Garen and getting first blood, the implications of that would be. But, I mean, he has been visiting basically every single lane, putting out fires where they need to be put out, and making sure that his lanes are in advantageous spots. You can see the Zac is now on the top side. Herald has been up for about half a minute here, and both junglers actually are rotating toward that top side. So I think controlling these side lanes is going to be very important in the next few minutes for trying to get more people to participate in a fight if there ends up being one.
You gotta draw them out one way or another, but I think it is something to be said, the fact that for Illini Esports Blue, they weren't able to stabilize because these champions that they've selected very much within the meta all have strengths, even if they fall behind. It feels like they were very easily able to catch back up. They're able to utilize that advantage. And for Fuel, it feels a little bit more shaky, right? That Zac, yes, you're able to slingshot in, but your 0-2-1 went a little bit more of that aggressive damage build, as that's going to be a shot back in mid. This is now the 4th one that we've seen solo. But Horus drawing attention in the mid once more as Yemeni, even though you're down 0-2-1, looking for that Herald.
Yep. So he's going to be able to complete getting that objective off the board. You can see that 2608 is visiting mid just to police what this Orianna is doing, maybe catch the wave before it crashes, because now that the Herald is there, that could break it down really quickly. 2608's just going forward, though.
And I like it. You force Horus away. However, you didn't know HDK and Yemeni were right there to fight. Good scatter of the week to slow them all down. Chusha Paras is going to miss, but HDK takes their chances and walks away alive. HDK flirting with death, coin flips against Anubis and says, I come out on top. TP away. Oh my god, he got it! In 17 minutes, he lives! HDK is the man!
And Full Sugar has to be face-palming over and over for that. He thought the turret was going to get the final... I thought the turret was going to get the final shot. It ends up not firing, and then he rounds the corner, pivots back, and that crucial half second allows the TP channel to be completed without the Scatter of the Week canceling it. It's not without cost, though. We can see the Ambessa did manage to claim first brick, so there is still a lot of gold to be there for Hana, but it's such an unfortunate play coming out there for the UIUC mid laner.
I do feel this is one of those situations where Fuel are winning the battles, but UIUC is winning the war. Right, maybe not in the dragon count specifically, but in the gold count, in the spread that they have a lot more open space right now. They are going to try and even up the dragon, but in a more 1v1 scenario, it's a whole different story. Third Full Sugar getting jumped on here. Dragon currently opted into, so it's a battle on 3 different fronts, now collected into one. Curtain call being drawn out, information being granted. That's a slingshot in. Yemeni looking for the steal, isn't able to find it, so instead it's a battle, a 4v3, and I don't know if you really like that because Horus is just gone, blown up where they stand. And the mechanical clock work girl will be sent back to the workshop for just a moment longer. Ilio flirting with death as well as there's a tower dive. Yemeni dropped into the bloblets, so it's just a murder underneath the tower. Massive extra heal and shield for 2608 as Ilio will flash out after picking up the double on Yemeni's head.
It's a clean 4 for 0, and 2608, credit to him for that team fight. Crescent Guard splitting up all of Fanshawe Fuel. They will deny the soul point as well as get the turret, so more gold just goes into so many members here. Now Hana, no turret is there to save you, HTK.
Even the silence ain't gonna help. This is a straight up delayed ace. Hana checks HTK's bluff and flops the nuts. Hana now 1-1 and 2.
Yup. And Bessa, it's been a quieter game for him so far, especially from that initial solo kill that was found onto him. But he's managed to collect so much gold. Even after we came back from the pause, we saw like a 20 CS lead difference.
Yeah.
Over the top laners, which really nullified what that kill got you, as QE completely whiffed.
And here's the deal. Third Full Sugar, I love your team fighting right now, but in the 1v1, Horus has you beat. Like, we've seen that a few times here. And this time, there's a lot more to play with. Sarah's Embrace completed. Full Sugar heading for the hills right now.
Ghost?
And Ghost out to safety. This is why you bring the Summoner Spell.
Manages to escape there, but another facepalm moment, the third of this game. Orbital for third Full Sugar, but yeah, as long as you're there to hit the scatter the weaks onto priority targets that are trying to get onto your backline, I have no complaints, honestly. We've talked about the importance of team fighting for a comp that is largely adhered to the current meta, and I think that UIUC, that's where their greatest strength is going to lie, in those 5v5s, and that's what we saw in the bot lane. When they're all grouped up together, they work super well. And I think we're going to be seeing, now that we have coasted 20 minutes into this game, more of the same, more team fight action, and that's exactly what they want to propel this game forward.
I appreciate it, because Hana in this top side, I give credit. In the top lane dominance, it didn't really go where I thought, but that stabilization has allowed 2608 to look in different areas. As that is a... You can see HDK looking for it. I think Hana just didn't have the HP bar at the moment, but I do appreciate that UIUC always willing to look at a battle here. Everyone kind of scattered out. It is all 2 outers, top and bot, completed. So mid might be the next check, but for 2608, it's all about the enemy camps.
And with those outer turrets on the side lanes being taken, I think it's going to be really hard for Yamani to make ganks happen unless the gank is in their own jungle.
I didn't know if they were actually going to launch on this, but it looks like it does, as 2608 is chewed through. JKL was also eaten up a little bit with that shockwave, but it's quickly out of the jungle, so a little bit of overextension by 2608. Push the envelope a little bit too far.
Yeah, they managed to secure themselves a kill, but they don't have control of the river, so they're not really going to be able to threaten a Baron or anything. In fact, they're going to have to move over to this mid lane. You can see Zach is in the corner. Elastic Slingshot has really long range at this point, so it's just a matter of, can your teammates follow up on any engages that you put out at this point?
I'm also really surprised. They played like they almost had vision there, right? Jumping into the Arcane Shift right at that end of the Elastic Slingshot pull. And it just feels like UIUC are really respecting this Zag pickup. Topside will go down as HTK takes their lumps and walks away. Public Execution, though, catches on the back end. You do have Flash to run, and Hana does not have it. But JKL is here, and unfortunately, Flash probably wouldn't save you, so Hana gets an assisted kill.
Yup. Again, more gold over to the Ambessa, and we talked about this being maybe a bit of a concern in the draft, where Ambessa does like to go in, but it's just a question of who are you going to have on your team that follows up with that engage. I think the biggest difference between Ambessa early on and Ambessa later in the game is just how damn tanky she can be. So as long as you're giving gold over to Ambessa to make those engages happen, even if the rest of the team is still far away, as long as Ambessa is able to survive whatever punishment Fanshawe will initially put her way, I think they'll be happy at the end of the day, as we can see resets and redistributions on the map coming through here for both teams. UIUC, though, first to the river and really looking to just try and flex that control.
Yeah, control in more ways than one. You were talking about itemization, you're talking about getting back on the map. Let's talk about the pink wards that were picked up. I believe jungle, mid, and ADC, all of them dropped in about 75 gold each, making sure to drop some extra pinks, fully lighting up this bottom side space, really making sure that they have full control over this Chemtech Drake, which is, again, for UIUC, something very, very important. They wanted to make sure that there is no steal attempt, that Zach can't come in from left field and snipe it away to put fuel on Soul Point. So at the end of the day, it will be a match 2-2 on the Dragon scale. Hana, though, might be the price to pay, and unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
Yup, does attempt to check the vision around that
They
top
didn't take
side.
Dragon.
Hang on, we got more.
Yeah, they actually peeled
No,
off a Dragon,
no
I think,
Drake.
to help Hana, and I don't know if this is the right call. Theo might have found the opportunity, as Krenzigard only keeps you alive for so long. Scout of the Week barely does any damage because, again, third full Sugar went more for the utility route. Ilio trying to jump to the back line. Theo just chopped them up. A final shot from Jin, as Boo goes legendary here. Maybe not legendary in the big sense, but enough to do the damage as third full Sugar jumps to the wrong side of the map, but there's no TP to save you like HTK. So at this point, you're sprinting towards your own death.
Yeah, full Sugar just delaying the inevitable. Yamani is going to be able to pick up that kill. And just like that, Fanshot Fuel gonna find themselves on Soul Point Orbital. UIUC, a top lane misposition turned into a team misposition, and now Fuel back in this game, actually ahead in gold. Do also get a tier 2 turret, so they're gonna be able to, off of reset, I think, set up around this top side and get some of that deep vision. If they get a pick, they can really start looking at the Baron as a real possibility. And the game, I mean, blink and you miss it. Suddenly, the team in control has completely shifted.
Yeah, I think for Fuel, one of the things that they talked about is, hey, they've really been working on their late game calling, but specifically making sure that when they go all in, they go all in. I think they specifically were saying, hey, you know, if we make the call, let's go. We all got to commit to it, and that's one of the moments where they did. They killed Hana. They saw the peel off from UIUC and said, we got to send it. This is our chance. Recognizing that mistake from UIUC's side has netted so much. You mentioned the Dragon in the mid tower. Let's talk about this outer that HTK is soaking up right now.
Yeah.
So much extra gold handed over to a pure damage top lane Garen.
And I think Hana really isn't in a position to 1v1 him anymore. It's a level 3 ultimate here for HTK, and that thing is going to kill you at about half
Oh my
HP.
god,
The threshold
2K
is
difference, by the way.
yeah, it really did balloon from that mistake by UIUC. All of the members of them are also around this bot side, so you can see that Fanshot Fuel are going to be pushing up some of these side waves in mid and top just to gain control of this river. They get vision on the Xin Zhao and immediately teleport coming in here through the Garen. They're going to be able to see the trail going through, but they've already started up the objective, and there's no vision on that objective. However, there's vision in the area, so I think they know, and they're teleporting to try and match.
Yeah, but the match is a little bit too slow. True Shot Barrage goes across.
already
They
gone.
see it a little bit, and that's going to be a little bit of a public execution. But as you said, it's a little bit too late. Crescent Guard wearing just a little bit of damage, but the big swing comes later. It's HTK to swing the execution's blade, and it brings Doom to 1. However, it's a match of 1 for 1. Not too much else said.
looking
Hana
for
and
more.
2608 lose their lives. Ilio soon to follow as the ADC jumps further, but jumps right into the arms of death. And I don't know if that chase was out of frustration or not, but UIUC lose a Baron and lose 3 to boot.
Yeah, I felt like a play of desperation there from Ilio, not wanting to let them get away, but he ends up being the one to fall. HTK does go down, so some side lane pressure that Garen can provide removed a bit, but still 4 members escaping wearing purple is definitely not bad for Fanshot Fuel, because you can see that mid lane wave is already really hard pushed in. You can see Horus on bot is also pushing in that lane. Top is in a neutral spot, so all of these waves are actually in a point where Fanshot Fuel can push like 1 or 2 of them, start taking more control over that bot side jungle, and set up for this Soul, which is coming in less than 2 minutes.
Things have spiraled very, very quickly. And if you're looking at Illini Esports Blue, how do you recover? You have the champions, we know you do, but it feels like some key pieces like HTK and Horus have just gotten out of control. Where do you go for Illini Esports Blue as you're watching a lot of your base just get shredded?
It is really tough, especially for a team that, like we said, lacks engaged. So it's not like if you find a good opportunity onto Fanshot Fuel, you can actually pull the trigger. You have to be really relying on your poke to whittle them down. But what's that poke going to do against this front line at this point? As Ilio is on the wrong side of the map and 3 levels down, the Garen just going to spin on him.
Hey, you ever seen a penguin be really, really disgusting? That was it right there. HTK
First time.
getting the glory in the back end. And now third full sugar
Oh,
is
the
about
slow
to be
landed.
emptied out on the ground. Good scout of the week. But you invested the flash plus ghost, and unfortunately, there's a lot of follow-up on your backside. HTK about to be gifted their 7th kill of the game.
And this is a really good turnaround for HTK. Gets the first blood, kind of loses a little bit of his steam, but then manages to pick it back up again along with the rest of his squad. Now, he's going to be the one solo pushing on this top side, all the while lanes are being pushed in mid. Lanes are being pushed in bot. Dragons are spawning in 20 seconds, and third full sugar is going to be dead by the time it does. So if UIUC want to go for a fight here, it'll be a 4v5 or 2608 can try and look for the miracle steal. I feel like those are the only ways they can prevent this soul from coming through.
Well, the steal, it might have to be 2608 looking to line it up. Pinkwood inside the pit for Fuel's side, blocking out that vision. They will have to guess. They do have more. True Shot Barrage crashes across two. Shockwave on the back line. Ilya loses their life. A good buffer on the back end, but 2608 is biding the time. Flashes over the wall, counts a little bit early. Is able to scatter them all with the Crescent Guard, but it's not enough to steal. And because of that, you lose your jungler. UIUC will watch the dismantling of their jungler and support. Deadly Flourish catches JKL's feet, and Fuel have the soul and more.
And now the already difficult front line of Fanshawe Fuel just became so much more difficult to kill. Everyone on Fanshawe Fuel just became so much more difficult to kill. You can see Horus goes for a reset, but he's going to TP with the rest of his team. A 4-1 split, and mid and bot, and 2 members down. UIUC cannot defend all of this, Orbital.
No, not without all 5, and even with all 5, probably not enough. It is HTK standing in front, taking plate after plate. Bot side will be deleted. Mid lane primed here by Yemeni side as well. And this is Fuel putting in the work. Their engines are revved to the max. Third full sugar though, getting jumped on, but Yemeni I think was expecting a few more people, and because of that, it's just a little bit low and below. Good catch and save by third full sugar, but the bot side inhibitor has been snagged.
Yeah, some members on Fanshawe Fuel running a little bit low. They do have the Chemtech Soul, but all of them have bounties except for the support at this point. So any one kill that goes over to UIUC does have a lot of value onto the member it gets delivered to. And a minute before Baron as well, I think that this is just the smarter play from Fanshawe Fuel to say, you know, we don't want to give any of our bounties over. We're going to reset, deploy onto the Baron, unless you're HTK, in which case it's fight time all the time.
It is, and sometimes you misjudge how much damage your weapon will do. Hana was able to survive with just a little bit of a sliver, but it still did damage that they wish. HTK will back away, go ahead and look for their 5th item, or at least a component, whereas Yemeni, by the way, has upgraded into a Magi Soul Stealer on a Zac of all things, and is looking at 14 stacks.
Yeah, Yemeni, not only that, but I mean, with the healing that Zac provides, as well as, like we just saw, the amount of tankiness from the Chemtech Soul, even under the tower, it's going to be so difficult to get through the Zac and onto the Jhin and Orianna, who in their own right are starting to get really strong. We see Jhin very close to 4 items. Orianna has the death cap. And, I mean, a couple of seconds until Baron, control of the waves here over to Fanshawe Fuel, and they should just be able to rip it right on spawn. If UIUC decide to go for this fight, they will be doing so nearly 10,000 gold down.
If they can find the catch, though, they might be able to cut out the legs of this Fuel squad. However, Horus and HTK taking very safe routes into this battlefield. Guru's still running interference. By the way, sitting at 0-4 and 10. I do appreciate for Fuel,
Good
though.
board there.
Yeah, we don't want to fight overall. We don't want to give them a chance. That's exactly how we got a chance back into this game.
Look at
so just
bot
battle
lane.
lines drawn.
Look at bot lane. I mean, there is an inhibitor or there is a super wave spawning right there. You can see, yeah, Hana is channeling the back to try and get away. Horus is in the area, maybe looking to cancel it. They're just trying to kind of force them to choose one or the other, but they might be too late.
I love that call. You saw Horus looking for it. Forces 2608 into action, but this is a final act of desperation. Hana executed straight to the back line, but in their name they shall fall. I believe a Nexus tower has gone down. Ilio able to make some magic, but still in the wrong place at the wrong time. That is 4 dead on Illini Esports Blue. Third full sugar trying to recall, but I don't think there's time. The recall will be denied. HTK coming in to fight the last tower, and it will be Fuel Esports to secure game number 1.
And a comeback for sure. We had a good opening from HTK on the first blood, but UIUC had a couple of good team fights and then one bad one, and everything switched back to default. Fanshawe Fuel with a really solid late game to end us here in game number 1 and be up in this series.
And I give them a lot of credit. The Zac came out, this Nautilus, this Garen in the top side. Individually, we could see where the strengths lie, but we really need to see it land on Summoner's Rift. They have made it here to the winners finals, but this just kind of cemented it. Very well played. Late game shot calling was on point, and the meta standard coming in for the side of UIUC did stumble a bit. A little bit of their mid-game shot calling was a little bit off. So my question to you, Quacks, looking at Illini Esports Blue, should they be rattled at this point? I mean, it's one mistake. It's not the end of the world. You still have another game. Do we think they have what it takes to still come back in the series?
We saw them ahead at certain points in the game, so I absolutely think that there is a world where they're going to be able to take us to game number 3, but this is a very common issue, I think, with teams at all levels of play, frankly, Orbital, where you get an advantage and you just make one tiny mistake and give that up. So I have always said that the biggest difference between good players and great players, or good players and or good teams and great teams, has been their ability to not only get a lead, but to hold on to it for as much as possible and stretch out the advantages that it gives you for as long as possible. And I do think that in that department, Illini Esports definitely fell short in this game by just not going for the dragon, frankly. I think once your top laner gets caught out, you rush toward the Drake. If you lose Baron there, it's not the end of the world because you still have plenty of towers that you can try and defend. And you actually have a good amount of safe wave clear. I mean, your comp is focused on that poke, so you can at least clear out those minions from a safe distance. So it just kind of felt like a very poor call on their part not to go for the dragon and deny that soul point, and that call ended up costing them the game.
Yeah, it's one bad call, and unfortunately, you got to look past it and say we had many good ones. Eyes looking forward into the future because Game 2 is on the horizon for both these squads. For the Fuel Esports squad, they want to close this out 2-0, right some wrongs of the past, and sit on that challenger's throne. We'll see if they can do so in quick fashion, or will Illini Esports Blue fight back? Don't go anywhere. We'll be here in just a short bit with Game 2.
Forge Trials is presented by the Army National Guard.
should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months and I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Not that you're I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Laying on my floor, thinking about all the things that we've been through. From 24/7 to pretending like I never met you. No, it's all for the best, cause I know we're a mess every time we're together. Going out of my mind, and I wish I could lie, tell you that it gets better. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months where I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months that I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to.
Baby, I just wanna be alone. I don't need your company, stop blowing up my phone. You don't get the things that I've been through, and I don't have the time to lay it all in front of you. And you think that you wanna save me, you don't know it, baby.
You'll still have common days. Put off your term papers till the last minute. Eat cold pizza right out of the fridge. Update your fantasy roster. This is not one of those days. A few weeks a year and you'll discover the most uncommon time of your life.
Here for game number 2 between Fuel Esports and Illini Esports Blue. Fuel Esports coming out in very dominant fashion. We got to see HTK fly off to the heavens on Pengu Garen, and yet it wasn't just the top lane that seemed very dominant. Mid lane also had their share of moments. Horus specifically on the Orianna looked like they were winning out most 1v1 trades.
And I think it's interesting too, because Third Full Sugar definitely had a good KDA at the end of the game on the Syndrome, making plays with the team around that mid game where Illini Esports, I think, really thrived in game number 1. But I think as far as the shockwaves went, and as far as just being able to have more agency in the late game team fights, Horus definitely won out. And also in the laning phase, I think, was just generally out trading the Syndra. So really good stuff from him, as well as HTK, like we said. I think going into game 2 Orbital, as we look over toward that part now that game 1 has subsided and everyone has the comeback fresh in their brains. One thing I'm definitely looking at for Illini Esports is when you get a gold lead, to try and keep it and make sure that that doesn't really get dropped, because I think once they decided not to go for that dragon, everything kind of changed, right? You gave over Soul Point to Fanshawe. You allowed them to get multiple turrets, including the tier 2 mid, which then allowed them to have vision on the top side, transition into Baron. It was a really big domino effect, and it all began with that one play and that misjudgment from the team. So I think the macro has to be what we put under a microscope here if we want to go to game 3.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, a lot of these moments will also be under a microscope for their opponents, just as well. To keep in mind, this is the winners' finals of the bracket for the Div 2 West Central playoffs, which means that whoever loses here will just fall to the lower bracket. They will have a second chance, but making these types of mistakes still means that you're at a much higher disadvantage of being identified as, you know, these are the weak points. These are the problems that enemy teams can exploit, which is something I don't think either team really wants to deal with. That's the whole fun of it, though, because, again, when it comes to NECC playoffs, it does filter into those Forge trials, once again presented by the Army National Guard. Once again, find your calling at nationalguard.com. Eyes out, of course, as they answer the call of the uncommon. We are looking at the drafting specifically for Illini Esports Blue. Keeping within the meta, they've had a lot of comfortable drafts so far. For the side of Fuel, though, I am curious, what other unique comfort picks are they going to go for? The Fiora is still on the table, but they've worn away the Garen, they've worn away the Zac, and I wouldn't say Jhin is abnormal, but definitely not high priority pick. They made it work. Can they do more on different champions?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've still got plenty of meta junglers in the mix as well. I know that, you know, you look at Yamani's champion pool, and you know, can have oddball picks is literally under the notes for this player. But I do think that if you wanted to pivot a little bit to the things like the Pantheon, things like the Vi, things like the Wukong, that's definitely still on the board as well. We did see the Rise banned away in game number 1 as well, and that has also been like a very heavily prioritized mid lane champion in the current pool of meta picks. So I wonder if we're going to see that dropped potentially, and if it is dropped picked up by either one of these teams. Point is, though, because of, like you said, the oddball nature of one of these squads going for things that aren't traditionally seen in a competitive setting, it does leave open a lot of those traditional picks to still be available here for game 2.
Yeah, so much to pick up here, and in a little bit more flexibility than maybe you're used to in a game number 2. To find the right mix and matches for this puzzle of 5 that you have to put together, it is important that you pick the right pieces, make sure they fit smoothly, and work towards your end goal. To keep in mind, for Illini Esports Blue, they've won this matchup before, I believe. They have gone ahead and taken victory once before, but it was a 2-1, so this is within their expectations. How do they bounce back will be something I'm very much asking in there. But to dive a little bit further, I want to look at this bottom lane. We didn't talk about it too much, at least during the game, because so many other things were going on, but Ilio and JKL for Illini Esports Blue had their moments, looked okay. The Ezreal Karma did its job, but it did feel like Boo and Guru got a little bit better of those stances with the Nautilus and the Jhin. So I'm curious, do we think that the bot lane will sway the same, or do you think it's going to shift, obviously based on the champions that they select?
I think that there's still plenty of bot lane pairings that are still available here.
Sure.
If UIUC wanted to adhere to meta picks, I mean, there are still plenty of those up. Ashe Seraphine is still there. Yanara Lulu is still there. Korkinami is still there. So you've got options here if you are Ilio and JKL. And I absolutely agree. I think that the Ezreal Karma did a really good job at being able to press their advantages with the range and being able to still have relevancy. Ilio in particular, I think, did show a willingness to go a little bit crazy at times. And so I'm wondering how that trait will factor in if Illini Esports Blue can, like we said, keep that gold lead within their grasp and maintain control of the game. Because, hey, an AD carry with hands is a scary thing, and I think Ilio from behind was showing it. So imagine what he can do when he is ahead. Now, though, we are onto the draft, and 2 AD carry bans have already been levied against Fanshop Fuel, denying 2 of the pairings that we talked about, Orbital.
And also within line what we saw previously. Now the big thing here is a Bard ban, which we were wondering about. Both supports do play this champion, but it does negate a lot of that roaming potential, that ability to influence the rest of the map in an early state of the game. Last ban though for UIUC, do you go with that Rise which we saw before, or do you go for something else and you are swapping to the Poppy? This now leaves open not only meta top priority picks, but comfort priority picks. For Fuel's side, Horus can pick up that Rise, but that would leave the Fiora open. So this is a big deal for Fuel. What are you opting to give away? You go for neither, and you go for the Volibear. Lock in for that jungle. I believe Yemeni plays that quite a bit.
Volibear is a really interesting blind here. I mean, I would imagine that like HTK can also go for this top lane if he decides to. So this is a bit of a flex pick. And yeah, I was going to say one thing that really counters Volibear just holistically, not even in the lane, if it ends up being in that jungle and circumventing the lane counter pick, is the Aurora and just any ranged champion, frankly, being able to kind of corral that around. But there it is. We weren't saying if, we were saying when, and it looks like game number 2, UIUC down 0-1 are gonna slam the Fiora here. I'm wondering if this maybe changes the mind at all of Fanshawe Fuel about this Volibear. Is Cho'Gath going to be the lock in here? That is probably, I mean, that could also go mid. We do see that Horus has Cho'Gath in his pool, so flex picks galore here for Fanshawe Fuel, and I would imagine they'll probably finish off their top side. Renekton does signal that this is probably a Cho'Gath mid, a Volibear jungle, and a Renekton top lane. So Renekton versus Fiora and Cho'Gath versus Aurora are the first 2 concrete matchups that we have here so far, Orbital, and I do like the responses from Fanshawe Fuel overall.
Yeah, this is going to be a wild matchup. A big note out for Horus. Horus apparently grabs the Cho'Gath from a content creator. I could not pronounce the name to save my life, so I will not attempt to, but shout out to that content creator, having a little bit of fun in there. For the Cho'Gath player, though, in this matchup, it will be fun to see a mismatch in terms of jungle priority versus support priority. This is going to allow UIUC to start target banning a lot of ADCs once more, which is matched. On the other side, this is now 4 ADCs banned away, 6 in total taken away from this series. So you're dropping to priority possibly 8 or 9 in the ADC pool, unless you're opting to change into the APC side of things.
There are still some AD carries left on open, but you can already see that Fanshawe Fuel with this top lane, as mixed and matched as it is, if you go for like a hyper-aggressive ADC here, I think that you are going to have a really good time, because there are a lot of frontliners, there are a lot of champions that can soak up pressure and buy you space in the team fight. So I wouldn't hate if we decided to go for something like a Corki Nami here as Fanshawe Fuel. I think that that could be well within their right, but we're not going to pay attention to them just yet. UIUC are going to look for a jungle pick for sure, just to give over a little bit more time to the AD carry to decide what they want to do. So Wukong going to be the answer. Gives them some nice follow-up engage with the Neeko. I think that those go buttons together can be really lethal in the mid game.
Yeah, and it still fits in line. Very meta standard here. The
Aphelios.
Aurora outside of the Fiora. Yeah, Aphelios is available in that mix-up as well. A lot of these high priorities and the ability to kind of catch out an opponent with the Wombo combo. This could be huge, as it is going to be rounded out by a Sivers. So still a little bit of a hyper carry. Needs a little bit more oomph, I think, in the gold department to really reach that break point of we're just going to crush you with the bouncing blades. But Fuel still are able to find that last ADC that sits within. So UIUC instead chase out with that Zeri, a champion that I haven't seen in a while.
And I do think that one really important aspect of this game is, I mean, we see a lot of kill threat in top with the Fiora versus the Renekton lane. We see a lot of kill threat in bot, more so toward the side of Fanshawe Fuel. It's very difficult to get through the shields and the spell shields of Sivir Lulu, but there is a good amount of action, I think, to be had for both of these comps early on. The big thing for me, Orbital, is how these mid laners are going to be freed up. Cho'Gath in the lane is not great. He's got some sustain, but if you'll remember back to when Cho'Gath mid was like actually meta, he was doing things like getting the symbiote souls, he was getting the Shirelias, he was clearing waves instantly and then roaming to a side lane. And so I do think in this game, Fanshawe Fuel would be really wise to give Horus this Cho'Gath to allow that strategy to come forward. I think that there are a lot of opportunities for that to be effective here and make this team kind of bridge toward that late game when the Sivir will be strong.
Yeah, just looking like a way to move into that late game and maybe not as such a rough position as before for Fuel. I think one of the big things for them is not only shoring up the mid to late, I think at this point you can call out and say that the mid to late was quite good for you. Shore up that early game. You got first blood in the top side, but let's go ahead and make it happen in other areas as well and see how far you can go in that direction. For UIUC, I really do want to see this Fiora. I mean, as soon as that Fiora was picked up, my eyes drew there. It doesn't matter what else really came afterwards. It really did feel like this is the gauntlet thrown down because I do want to point out, Hana picked it up. HTK is the one in their hashtag of Fiora. So they're the ones with the one trick on the other side, and Hana kind of stole it away. So, like, this is a giant target on the back of UIUC's top laner.
Yeah, how well can you play against your one trick? That is a question that I think all one tricks, including myself, have to face eventually.
Yeah.
But I guess one more thing that I want to add to this comp, particularly for Fanshot Fuel, is ideally if you can get this Sivir to leave lane as soon as possible. I wouldn't hate if, like, once those turrets, those outer bricks get really low, you roam the Sivir toward mid lane, because I think the more involved and the more grouped up Fanshot Fuel are in this game, the better. That on the hunt is going to do a lot of work for trying to get these relatively immobile topside champions, in the sense that they don't have very many dashes. I guess they've got some movement speed, but they don't have dashes. It'll just help close that gap against some of these champions, the Zeri in particular. I think that if the Zeri and the Fiora are allowed to dance around in these fights, UIUC should be able to just steamroll over this game, because looking at the scaling, they definitely have the advantage.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Life Shred coming out of the Fiora, you got the Aurora doing the exact same, the Zeri with that spacing, and then, of course, the Nico with the Pop Blossom can be a brutal shell out here. At the same time, we could have said the same for UIUC's composition last game as well. Had a very strong meta composition that generally wins early, mid, late, had a very nice cohesion in there. So, even though UIUC drafted well, it is about that decision making. Calling back to what you talked about before, UIUC need to make sure that once they get a lead, they don't let it fall to the wayside. They don't make those mistakes where there's a moment for Fuel to kind of poke their noses in and take over.
And I think this game, it is going to be a little bit easier to hold on to that gold lead. You look across the board, and UIUC are relatively mobile here. We talked about the difficulty of mobility for the top side of Fanshot Fuel, but UIUC have very, very movement-heavy characters. You know, you've got the Aurora, you've got the Zeri, you've got the Wukong, the Fiora. These are all champions that can dance around team fights really, really well. So getting caught out is not necessarily as easy as it was going from game number 1. So maybe that makes a difference. Maybe it doesn't. But still, yeah, not getting caught out, period, I think would be a good strategy.
Yeah, I think that's rule number 1, right? Or rule number 3, I should say, of League of Legends. Don't get caught out. Just don't do that. That doesn't end well.
So rule number 1 is don't chase singed.
Yep.
Right? Rule number 2 is you're an automatic fan of TSM.
Oh, ooh. Does that still apply nowadays? Does that rule still say?
we can maybe reconstruct that to be like you're an automatic fan of Faker. Yeah?
Yeah, I actually like that. I like that. Amendment to the rules. Right. I like that.
All right, and then rule number 3 is?
Would it be don't face check?
Well, it was what you just said.
Oh, true. Yeah. Don't get caught out. Okay, that falls in line. Yeah, 100%. Don't get caught out. 100%.
Yep. So, you heard it from us here first.
Even if my brain is a little absent-minded, don't mind me writing it down and then forgetting it right away.
I mean, there are a lot of rules of League of Legends, right? We'd be here all day if we had to explain them.
Yeah. Rule number 4 is you always have to hate Teemo, right? Like.
Right. Yeah. Well, I feel like Teemo, like we were talking about TSM and how that was kind of like a rule from a bygone era. I think that Teemo is from a bygone era as well. Like there's been so many champions that I feel like you are prone to hating so much more. Like it was Yuumi for a time. True. Now I think Yuumi has kind of gone to the wayside. Now I think it's Mel. I think Mel is the champion that you all need to that everybody hates.
I will say I think Mel actually transcends the rest, because Mel's like getting the active ban hammer from multiple nerfs recently as well, and people still hate Mel. It's just never ending.
That's what happened with Yuumi too, because Yuumi was like, oh, it's a no skill champion, you don't even have to do anything.
Was she hit this hard though and still celebrated as like a terrible? Oh, I guess okay, no, I can't. Oh yeah, you're right, yeah. So who's been hated more? Has it been Yuumi or Mel? I guess it's
Yuumi versus Mel is I I'm gonna make a comparison, but I think I'll get banned if I try.
All right,
so
well, let's
I
not
think
worry
we'll just
about
stop
that.
at
Yeah, let's not worry about that because we get first blood. I wasn't expecting it, but the HP draws way better as we're drawn straight back into the game with Hana getting first blood. Our eyes also drift over to Yemeni, who is now in a fight or flight moment of their own. A 2v2, but 2608 loses more HP than they thought. Hana, though, with the massive one on the top side, watches the jungler get struck down by God himself and will get revenge on the lightning bear on high. Horus trying to flash for a chance at third full sugar, but it's UIUC to take the battle in more in the early stages of this game.
And UIUC off to a hot start here for the solo lanes. 2-0 start for the Fiora. They're going to reset and get a Tiamat. This is going to make pushing those lanes so much more easy. As Guru falling a little bit low. It doesn't look like any more lethal action will be taken here in the bot lane. Just trading and a turret shot onto Boo, but very strong start here for Alina Esports Blue for their solo laners. Very, very good start.
And I feel this traverse into how this early game played out. With a little bit more standard champions, the entire early stages fell the way that they wanted. They didn't go crazy. They didn't go silly, as it's now another fight, as Hana will win this time. You called it out. Ignite for Ignite situation occurred where this time HTK had theirs. So it's a win for the Croc in the second battle.
And now double buff transfer complete as well. HTK will be able to push in this wave, come back to lane, and those will probably still be on. So the trading is still very, very in the favor of the Renekton, even more so now that he's able to equalize the items between the two, along with those double buffs. So good recovery there for HTK. But the rest of the map, I feel, still in a bit of a struggle on the side of Fanshawe Fuel, both in the fact that some counterparts have kills over you and some counterparts also have gold leads over you in CS.
Yep, I mean, we're seeing that. I think specifically in the mid lane, as this freeze might be a little bit difficult to break for Horus. 0-1-1 in the mid lane, as we said, a lot of silliness can occur with a Cho'Gath mid. I mean, social media is all over a Cho'Gath mid right now, but our eyes are still drawn as the third battle in the top lane. We'll see Hana lose a good chunk of their life with Yemeni standing on top of Ward. Oh, this is dangerous. 2608 in position. Yeah, no flash, but no level 6 either. Oh, we'll wait at the end here. What is this dance?
I mean, Hana is going to hit level 6 soon, I believe, on this wave, so that grand challenge could maybe be a timer that they look to. So he's actually going to complete that back. Yamani is going to get away for the time being. Horus, though, has found, and he's got ultimate as well. I mean, this Cho'Gath in melee range is very lethal. Combine the feast with the what is it called? What is the 3 hits? It's such an uncommon rune. Yes.
Oh, Halo Blades. Halo Blades from Zorpal, but it doesn't matter because top side wins that. HTK! We're talking about mid. Let's watch top. Both teams said it. HTK proves it.
Yep, HTK with another solo kill here. Those double buffs, again, making the difference. So more gold, again, denied for the Fiora. That Renekton's going to be able to crash the wave in. But paying our eyes toward the bot lane, we can see that both junglers have made their way around this bot side and are nearing level 6 as well. So I'm wondering if once they hit those ticks or those timers, they might start looking for this dragon that is spawned for about a minute and a half, though Blascone actually going to spot out the Wukong, so Yamani and Fanshawe Fuel will have an idea where this Wukong is.
And not only that, looks to collapse on it. Immediate call from Horus to actually push into the Wukong instead, forcing 2608 out. As we watch this bot side, again, the farmers are going at it. Boo and Ilio trying to match farm for farm pace. Whereas Ilio, though, started in with that BS sword, which means you immediately go into an overcharge and look to shell out against Boo. Tag on the back end, forces a wild growth, so Boo has to sit under tower. Didn't want to burn that barrier just yet. I don't know if you were tracking close enough, so JKL and Ilio will back away from that one after getting the ult plus the heal from Guru.
Yeah, you maintained your summoner spells, which could be vital if a dragon fight comes up in the next couple of minutes. Now Horus, though, the target.
And Horus really doesn't have an out. Remember, use Flash in the earlier battle trying to secure a kill. Fortunately, that leaves you very, very low, so 2608 will complete the finish, and the gank is successful. Topside, though, at this point, the battle's well worn, right? I mean, Hana should recognize that you're not going to have a great and easy time.
Yeah, HTK at this point, you don't have the double buffs like you did for the last solo kill, but you do have ultimate. And I think that every time Dominus is available for Renekton, that's when he can start to look very aggressively. Speaking of aggression...
Okay, it's 2608 once again to get punished here. Yemeni bringing a bit of the pain into the jungle line. And with no flash available in that direction, Yemeni picks up one for themselves. Quacks, this is turning into a whole fiesta as Boom
Good spell
successfully spell shields JKL's damage, but not the stasis. So Boo is still locked in the battle, which allows Ilio to get a lot of damage down. Flashing away puts Guru into a really bad spot in the alcove, which Ilio will snag for themselves. JKL watching a bit of a shield go down, but Ilio will secure their first of the game.
Yup, so you don't get the 80 carry. It's not the target you wanted. Hang on. Ooh, nom, rabbit's foot. Tastes good as Horus gets a solo kill. There's just action everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like this is again leading into a dangerous spot.
Oh, the
as
bouncing!
a spark rolls down. That was a scorch from JKL to finish off that last body.
And then it was going to be an execute, but the bouncing boomerang from the minions hit Nico at the last millisecond to make it a 1-for-1. So 80 carry for support, and HTK is just zoning Hana away from his tower. I mean, I barely have time to give analysis at this point, Orbital. Everyone is at each other's throats. Dragon is being started on the bot side. I think that NECC should be able to get that. I can't even talk.
He called it. Did he get it?
Oh.
Riposte? Oh, Hana knows the champion. Hana knows the champion. Spares their own life right there.
Yup, 20 HP for the Fiora. Does manage to get out, but really I feel just you're still bleeding resources. That wave is going to crash in. You're going to miss some of those minions. HTK is going to continue to balloon this gold lead. The Dragon, though, did go over to UIUC, and 2608 was the reason for that. Now 2608 might be the reason for potential bot lane gank coming through. Boo did burn both of those summoner spells, so this Sivir, if it is caught pushing up too far, could be exploited.
But I think recognizing that things are a little bit off kilter, a lot of kills going down, which means tracking the enemy jungler is going to be tough for the next minute or so. You have a recognition of where the camps are spawning, but are the junglers actually going that way? Whole different story. Hana getting some cover with the middle of the wave as HTK look to get a bit aggressive. Decent amount of fury built up, able to swing with that quick Q across Hana's HP bar. But now they're looking, that was another big chunk. A little bit of a vital point proc, as Hana is losing so much here. Not only in gold, but in HP.
Yeah, HTKK in this matchup is it's so difficult at this point for Hana to actually do anything in the 1v1 here. And this is very, I think, reminiscent of what we saw in game number 1, where HTK got a solo kill and then kind of struggled from there on out. Now, though, Yemeni is looking to continue invading the Wukong on his top side, but Wukong's not having that.
No, not at all. And the problem is Hana is here to help out. Very nice stop at the end,
Oh,
but
W'd the wrong
Yemeni
person.
overextends, and Hana gets a nice little snack to come back in this game.
And gets a nice little heal. I mean, he was suffering in the laning phase, but because that Grand Challenge got completed, Hana is able to sustain himself basically back to full and be in this lane for a little bit longer, at least to catch some of these minions. So the kill threat from the Renekton dive is basically lost, not only because of that kill and the gold and the healing from that Vampiric Scepter, but also from the Grand Challenge, being able to return Hana to life. So HEK is going to be forced to back here without another kill added to his name, though he does now have first item. In fact, most members of this game, Orbital, are starting to get their first item at around this time, but these breakpoints not really syncing up with any of the objective. You still got 2 minutes until the next dragon.
Yep, a lot of time left. It's also an Ocean Dragon, one that I don't think we saw earlier, which will be very, very helpful for any of these elongated trades. It's not a soul, but still having that extra buffer on the HP and the mana, huge when it comes to these trades back and forth. You can see it here as Hana is still looking to duke it out. Nice riposte, but it's not enough because HTK gets the full clear. So at this point, we understand HTK and Hana are gonna duel 9 times out of 10. Our eyes are turned elsewhere, where 2608 is looking for a bit of damage on the ADC. There's a jump forward, very nice spell shield, slows them all down, but Ilio got out of dodge fast. Good pickup by UIUC.
Yup, and now maybe a cross-map play possible here as third full sugar is on the top side.
Oh my god!
Oh!
Do not mess with the Croc in their elements right now. You might be surprised at how strong their jaws are, and a rabbit cannot compete with that predator. HTK rules the top lane. 2608 trying to fake out with the clone, is able to get one off, and with the Cyclone running in the wrong direction, but the Thunderlord brings the damage. Tether from JKL ain't gonna stop anyone, so Yemeni gets a free own kill. Fuel are off to the races on their comfort champions, and the traits are showing strong.
Yeah, 2608 tried to fake out with the clone like you said, but Yemeni hit the clone, wasn't falling for it, and actually hit the real guy anyway, so the Wukong gets chunked out. His schemes, his trickery does not actually end up working against the Volley Bear, and now, I mean, kill over to Yemeni. He's going to be able to reset, start on his second item. So the jack of all trades is going to start to be a big factor in this game as Boris almost gets within feast range of third full sugar, but not quite. But the redeploy, as you can see from the Lulu and the Volley, are going to allow them to take more of this bot side river and prep for the Drake to try and tie up that objective.
And I mean, it feels like Yemeni has actually lived on the bot side so far for the last like minute or two. I mean, that's where we saw the recent kill, right? Like constantly around this area, understanding that global objectives will lead to more finishes. So I appreciate what they're doing. Fuel, even though that the game has been moving at a breakneck pace, still feels that they have the eyes on the prize. Mid to late game shot calling has been their work in progress. And it's showing here, not letting the kills go to their heads and still keeping eyes on wards, on positioning, on vision of where the opponent is. Yemeni, though, starts to dragon up a little bit faster than I think they would really like. It is now tethered out as Yemeni gets almost straight up soloed, but a great wild growth will keep you alive. However, third full sugar, because I can fight just as well, and this is Boo that goes way too far forward and will lose their life in turn.
That was a really sloppy engage from Fanshawe Fuel. I mean, Yemeni, it's a little bit unfortunate because as he was charging the Q, he got slowed by the Ocean Drake. So he was running at them, and UIUC had time to react. Now HTK, though, got the kill, potentially on the turret. Now we'll get a kill onto the Fiora, but we don't have time to pay attention to that. Bot side has its own action to take care of.
Yeah, because Horus is running away with the Proto Belt, gets a lot of movement, plus the boots of swiftness, but HTK is just hunting, and you're on a ward, HTK! At this point, it's a foregone conclusion as Red Team is able to pick up that dragon, puts them at 2, but they have to fear the Croc once he's unleashed from the top side map. JKL running for their life does get knocked up with that plume, and I don't think you're getting out of that one. Horus gets another chunk for themselves. Yemeni wants some revenge for earlier, but unfortunately no dragon means 2608 is just running for the base.
Yeah, now I feel like the Herald should be just the next logical step in Fanshawe Fuel's game plan. You've got the top lane completely freed up. HTK is still on the map. You can see that Horus now, with the Proto Belt and just that extra AP as well, is going to be able to really just insta-clear these waves. So that should allow them to get an objective. When they want to use that objective is kind of the question that I have, because oftentimes Herald is used as kind of a distraction to get priority for a dragon, right? It kind of creates this domino effect. So I wonder if Yemeni is intentionally going to wait to go for the Herald closer to the time the dragon spawns so that that can be relevant for gaining control of the space around the next dragon, which would be sole point for UIUC.
Work towards those global objectives, and maybe UIUC can once again position themselves with a little bit of a dragon difference, something that Fuel had last time. At the same time, it's also trying to look at Ilio, who is now 2-0-2, the de facto strength that the team is kind of wrapping around, and the Zeri might be the game plan winner. They can unleash it from the bot lane. You mentioned the same thing for Boo on the Sivir. Wants to break out of the bot lane, wants to rotate, get that gold elsewhere. Especially since they're going for a little bit more lethality build. That is a hubris built #1, which is a... Yeah. Is that standard
not
build?
common.
I'm guessing that's standard build right now.
No, that is... That is definitely not standard build. I saw it as well, and I'm curious to see how it ends up panning out, because like we've said, Horus is potentially in trouble.
Yep, gets a nice little knock up with that rupture. We'll step away to safety. It looks like just the Proto Belt has been the main AP dealer, shifting into a lot more defensive stance with the itemization as well.
And Protobell being built by a lot of mid laners in recent patches. A lot of people have been asking why, and the short answer is Chovy. Just straight up, Chovy has been building it. He loves this item. But beyond that, Protobell is kind of similar to what Gale Force was when it was still in the game, where it would allow 80 carries to play a lot more aggressively and to have a bit more aggressive posturing in the game. It serves a very similar purpose to mid laners, where you can play up further knowing you have the mobility to get out with that Protobell if things end up going awry. So we saw Horus kind of do that a couple of times in this game. Because the Protobell is there, he's able to escape for now, but there will be no escape on this bot side. Herald has been charged, and Fanshawe Fuel are just going to claim more territory around this bot lane in preparation for the next Drake.
And I love it. Big question, are you going to get a second charge off? Might not look like it because the bouncing boomerangs has shown third full sugar in space. Good smite. That'll be 2608, but in the mid lane, Horus getting even more. What a rupture! Are you kidding me? No, Horus. Not like that. That's just gone. Horus is a monster right now. And with that kill in the mid, it's actually unleashed the rest of the map. And JKL gets bullied into submission. Wop, wop, you're gone. Horus with the Cho'Gath is 4-2-2.
I mean, it's just falling apart for UIUC, similar to game number one tiny mistake, and Fanshawe Fuel are running at 100 miles per hour. It's going to be a bot lane turret, 2 kills, a mid lane turret, and so much gold given over to Fanshawe ahead of this dragon. I think that soul point is going to be so hard for UIUC to get if something doesn't change in the next minute.
I mean, I don't even think they're in control anymore. It feels like for UIUC, right? Everywhere they go, the choices might be there, but the answers are being made for them. Fuel saying, if we're going to fight, we fight on our terms. If we don't fight, we don't fight on our terms. UIUC are not in control, and at this point, relegated to just try and farm. As you look at Hana, just like, I got to farm up top side. Bot side, you aren't able to touch for third full sugar because Ilio is in mid, trying to soak up as much CS as possible. Currently the CS leader at 212.
Yeah, 212 is really good, but I mean, it feels like Ilio hasn't been fully unlocked in this game. We've seen very little team fighting so far, and the skirmishes that we have had in the last 5 or 7 minutes have all gone up the way of Fanshawe Fuel. So, oh god, Horus, don't do it to him.
No.
Oh, he doesn't have Feast, so
Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's the whole reason.
yeah, he's not gonna.
I
He's
wonder
not gonna
if
do
they're timing it.
Yep, he's not gonna do it to him, but. I mean, Dragon is up in a few seconds, and UIUC weren't really able to make a big impact on the map since the last time we brought it up.
Oh, he's got it now. Oh, he's got it.
I love this.
I don't. I hate this. Poor third full sugar walked into a horror movie without knowing it.
I mean, okay, but it's
here.
it's like this guy. It's like if you were on the subway and this guy is like trying to pickpocket you, and you are like onto him because he's already messed up twice, but you have to like keep guarding yourself because he won't stop.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. And the problem is the pickpocketer is getting away with more and more, and is getting more and more ballsy with it, right? Like, just straight out in the open after a while. And at some point, you're going to recognize the dude's got, like, 300 pounds on you. You're not going to get away with this. Third full sugar is bullied away from their own wallet as a couple dollars is taken out in change for that tower. Fuel is so happy right now. HTK, price to pay, but honestly, you're good, at least for the moment. HDK, lot invested going on right now. Flash is available, but you just try and turn it around. However, Ilio has the weight of the team there to help him out, and they will cut the Croc in half.
Yeah, Ilio does manage to get the shutdown, so a lot of gold going over to this area. Much needed as well, because we have kind of talked about the lack of carry potential from him so far, but Yabedi just doesn't care. He's going in 1v3. It's about a 1v4. Teleport comes in here for third full sugar. The fight will not continue. Horus is on a ward, so UIUC are smartly not going to approach him.
Yeah, just, I mean, and that's the scary thing, by the way. HGK TP'd in, Yummy ran in 1v4 technically on their own, and yet UIUC recognized what that meant. There was so much weight behind this bear that you cannot contest. They're not being started though, and that's the big question. 2608 has the ability to hop over the wall, but we've seen this song and dance before from Fuel themselves. They bait it out, they draw everyone in, and they say, hey, let's fight all day long. 2608 drawing a little bit of a battle. They are going to pop that realm out, but no damage to really follow, as everyone on Fuel's side is like, dude, I don't know what you're even trying. I'm fine. They're okay to walk back, as I didn't even recognize that Fuel fighting for another Chemtech Dragon and Chemtech Soul here in game 2.
Yeah, they are. That top left indicator is bugged. But we can see that while the rest of UIUC have to reset and make sure that their health bars are in a healthy position, Fanshawe Fuel, I mean, the Volley Bears got a lot of innate healing with the W, right? As well as Jungle Privilege, and then Carnivore here for the Cho'Gath, as well as his own passive, just means that Fanshawe Fuel can stay on the map a lot longer. Holy moly!
Only in a few senses. Ilio heard you talk and smack a little bit. And at least in the ADC department, it is going to be Ilio to win. Good Pop Blossom, though, to slow them down. The horse is like, that's one I can't feast on. Inside the river to hold him. Story Yemeni in a 1v1. As soon as Ilio comes around, though, it's such a scary difference. 1v1, Yemeni wins. Flashes out to safety. There's the healing that you were talking about. But there is some weight behind Ilio's name right now, and that should be a very small light in a very dark game.
Yeah, if they can take down this turret, I mean, especially with the Fiora, they should be able to, but there's a flank coming in from the Renekton. Are they going to be able to pinch the Zeri? They still have Flash. Ilio still is very mobile.
Well, they're going to take the easy kill. It feels like Hana getting chewed through very, very quickly. Able to escape out to the side as JKL is running interference. But as you said, it was a chance and a half, and that chance was taken. Nobody goes down.
Yup, so it is going to just be still 2608 dead for another 5 seconds, and that little window is all that UIUC need. They see the flash burn from the Zeri. They know that Ilio can't pop off, and they're just going right for the objective.
There's no way you challenge this, right?
You've got Beast
Ilio
as well.
Looking for the steal, right? Okay, they slowed it down. That's the Beast for Horus. I don't even know how many stacks Horus has right now. I'm guessing like 7 or 8. I think I want to say 7 or 8. Can we, I hope our observer can hear us, because, by the way, big shout out to Caddy and Chippy on the back end for production, giving us these awesome views. It's 9. I was 1 off, but that's a massive amount. And once you hit level 16, increases even more.
Yeah, so Fanshawe Fuel, get the Baron. 1 minute ahead of the Dragon, and we can see that they're mostly looking to get control around mid. Nobody has really gone toward that bot lane wave yet, and that's because there isn't a lot of vision in the area, so no one wants to risk getting picked out, especially because basically every flash on the side of Fanshawe Fuel is burned, so they're not really going to have time to fully make use of the Baron push in prep for this Dragon, but they need to make sure they get this Dragon, because if UIUC claim it, that'll be soul point for them, and that win con staying alive in a game where Fanshawe Fuel have gradually, I think, progressed their control over the match. This would be a huge wrench in their plan if UIUC were able to take advantage of it, but it doesn't look like they're going to. 2608 is looking for a top dive, and he's not the only one. Ilio is running there as well.
They're bringing all the strong arms of their roster to come straight up here and try and take over, but HTK smells something in the waters. Boo is giving so much time. And it looks like UIUC, a little bit of a bluff is called. HTK trying to bait them out, say, hey, stay up here, let me take a look at you. And just straight up solos out Hana.
Oh my god.
Hana goes, haha, I didn't want to do it solo. Ilio gets revenge, but it leaves the Dragon wide open. Fuel will take a 1-for-1 on the top side and give their Cho'Gath yet another stack.
Yep, nom nom nom, and he gets his 10th of the game. Horus is starting to get really big here. It looks like Ilio will actually be able to finish off this turret, but the rest of the map certainly worse for wear, as that Baron buff is still on for about 1/4 of its original duration, so that turret will be traded. You can also see that the bot wave is pushed in as well, so Fanshawe Fuel, no AD carry is here, by the way. They can just keep on pushing until the reset comes through from the Zeri.
Yeah, I think they're going to do it. I mean, they're not even worried about third full sugar. This Aurora is tickling the tanks here. However, Ilio can easily join a battle here. And so they will use the On the Hunt to hunt a different kind of prey. Their safety.
Yep, so they managed to break open the base. Don't get the inhibitor, so those supers will not be spawning, but just gives them so much more mid control. If they can hold on to priority in that mid wave, they can really extend that vision line forward. Won't pay dividends for a few minutes. I mean, the original Baron buff is still on the side of Fanshot Fuel, so it feels kind of crazy that we're already calling for the next one in about 3 minutes, but it does set them up for that, at least as he does it the real one.
There's a level to how rude you can be with a Cho'Gath, I think. What's the highest number of stacks you've seen? I can't even talk. I want to ask a question. Yemeni says, I really got to get out of here. Is able to hop over the wall and get a lot of safety here as Guru has the ult ready. Spicy moment leads to a spicy HP bar.
Oh, HTK.
HTK, though, says round number 2. And 2608 does not like their odds. That is ridiculous. That Fuel were not only able to dig their jungler out of harm's way, but they are staring down the barrel of a chance at the grand finals of their Div 2 playoffs.
Yup, a 2-0 is on the horizon, and Inhibitor is gone. They don't have a lot more on the map to take, though. I mean, all of the inner turrets are gone, so now really it's just about trying to break open the base in more points than one, get supers flooding in from more than one lane, and that is pretty difficult. I mean, you've got the Fiora with the Tiamat procs being able to clear out with that AoE. You've got the Zeri being able to clear out with the long-range AoE. There's just a lot of very safe wave clear from UIUC that makes it difficult to breach open the base, so they're not going to be able to do it this time. But still, I think we are looking down the line, and Fanshot Fuel being ahead could lead to a Baron in about 90 seconds here. The first one has been gone for a bit, but I mean, with the pushing lanes and the fact that they're able to keep them pushed, they should have no problem having control of that objective.
Yep, just a little bit of time, and for Fuel, this is such a breath of fresh air. They came into this high and riding well off of multiple big wins, 2 0s across the board, and now they're about to take down one of their arch nemesis from the regular season. However, this catch inside of the jungle might have been their undoing. Boo was able to stay alive for the moment, but the rest of the team is here to chase, and it feels like UIUC are grasping at the last thread of their victory, and I might have just straight up massacred Fuel into oblivion right there. I am so sorry, my good lads, as UIUC take 2 hard-won kills.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Fanshot Fuel's bot side was just trying to push up, but they did so a little too far without the assistance of HTK and Yemeni. The Volibear and the Renekton were nowhere to be found. So that is going to give a little bit more gold over to UIUC. And 30 seconds until the Baron. It's just about keeping control of that mid wave, and if they can do that, maybe they can get some control over that river and make it harder for Fanshot Fuel to actually threaten the Baron, though. I do think that pick tools now are going to be your best friend. The death timer is starting to get a lot longer in this game. Does mean that if you go down, it's going to be a 4v5 for a really long time. And whichever team does have the numbers advantage could easily look for Nasher.
Well, HTK is looking for a different kind of feast. However, Hana is one slippery prey at this point. We're starting to see UIUC bounce back a little bit in some of these turns, and is able to kind of keep themselves safe. No longer are they just running for the hills. It's an optimal retreat is what we're watching for. Multiple objectives up, Baron plus Dragon. And at 2-2 in the Dragon state, it's a whole different story about this 5th.
Yup. Fuel just trying to maybe bait in UIUC. The Sivir at this point, it hasn't been the greatest game from Boo, but Mans can still wave clear, and Mans can also still click art. That's realistically all we need him for at this point in the game.
Yeah. Well, another Baron.
Oh, they're going to flip it. I mean, it's not really a flip. They've got Cho'Gath.
Yeah, it's a double situation, but we've seen Fuel bait this out before. Will they commit or will they fight? It's a whole different story here, and they choose neither. Full peel away. They drew 1 TP in turn for their own. 2608 might not want to be here. HTK getting a little bit antsy, down to about 75%.
Yep, on the hunt popped as well. Dragon is also up, so I wonder if the team that doesn't immediately go on to the Dragon just goes over toward the Baron. Nope, they're looking for a fight. Boo is the target.
Oh no, 2608,
no,
way too fast! The feast might be the opener, but Ilio is untouched in the back line. Good flash to safety. It's Ilio to turn it around. UIUC wake up in the 30th hour, and it's a quadra kill for Ilio as UIUC grasp at victory.
And we talked about it in the draft orbital. We said that the lack of really big snap engages from Fanshawe Fuel would come back to bite them. You can run fast, you can get on the hunt, you can barrel down as a bear, you can slip and slide as a crocodile, but you will never match the speed of the Zeri. Third full sugar dies for fun, but it's the soul point for UIUC. That's the big headline here.
You take 4 kills, you take a dragon, you give 4 to Ilio, and all you lose is a feast? Hey, I'll take that all day long. That is a benefit for UIUC, and Illini Esports Blue are going, guys, we made it. Our Zeri is 10-1-3. We are on soul point in game 2, and Baron is up. Things are in our favor.
And look at what Ilio just bought on his most recent back there. Has the Guardian Angel and then also the QSS. So even if you can get onto the Zeri, there is no guarantee that you're going to be able to stick onto them. Not only are they super fast, but they've got a revive, they've got a free cleanse, and they're just going to force down the Baron. They see no other way to win this game than to flip it.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. A phrase to live by. 2608 having to run away, but this time with the full commit. There's a pop blossom once more, and they go in. 2608 is going to be knocked up, but look at the burst. Ilio says hello, and Boo cannot contest. Granted, JKL goes into the Zanyas, and it's a turnaround, but the Baron is now healing up. Guru scatters to the heavens, but for fuel, they are all out of gas. UIUC turn to the big purple worm.
And Fuel don't make the critical decision to turn onto the Baron. All the damage that it did just softened them up, where Ilio gets an instant double kill, gets his Guardian Angel popped, and gets very close to death, but manages to stay alive. UIUC will be the ones to claim the Baron, and Fanshawe Fuel are running out of desperation plays to go for.
I mean, at this point, I'm looking at their comp, and it's just, you could see the benefits. You could see where their comp was going for. But they hit a brick wall, and I'm really tuning into Boo down there. Boo, who transferred, I believe, to ADC, playing with Guru, a member and a good friend of Boo. But they swapped roles, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe that slight inexperience is showing here. 175 has not found a good foothold with this Sivir so far.
And now, I mean, what can you do with this Baron buff, right? You've got it for like another 2 minutes or so, and there's going to be a dragon in about 2.5 minutes. This would be soul for UIUC if they're able to claim it. Fanshawe Fuel, I mean, you've got to make a desperation play before them. We can see that Hana is pushing up in top. They're all moving there. On the hunt is popped, and this has to work.
Well, they go over the wall, and Hana reacts to it a little bit differently. Good flash and riposte to dash. And you're going to draw them out a little bit more. Boo on the wrong side of the map, though, and Ilio's on the hunt. Flashes to safety as well. Ilio is just a rampant monster right now, and the best kind to have as Fuel try to recollect.
Yup, really, I think it is just all about the protect the president style right now. You've got a full build Zeri, and that is really all that matters to make this fight go forward. Horus is going to look for a kill, will be unsuccessful. Third full sugar is going to get out of that, and yeah, it's really just basically both teams are going to live and die by what Ilio does at this point in the game. If he gets caught out without that Guardian Angel, UIUC are going to lose. If he doesn't, UIUC are going to win. It's very simple at this point in the game, and Fuel, it's very not simple how they are actually going to make this work in their favor at this point.
Yep. I mean, at this point, it's all about, you know, just do what you can. You have the 6th dragon of the game headed to us in just 1 minute, and your eyes are on that prize. Yemeni has not found concrete entrances to these dragons, to these objectives so far. And in that minute, your mind is churning. How do we find an advantage? Do we find an advantage? Do we have to play it back? Can we contest? All those questions spinning and not many answers for it.
Yeah, we've got 30 seconds until the dragon. Baron is very close to falling off, but HK has to be very careful. Does this not just come down to like a flip, maybe? I really struggle to see a way where UIUC don't get this objective.
Yeah, I mean, what are they really gonna lose here? Like optimally,
Like, do you commit Flash Smite and Flash Feast from your mid jungle? That would be game.
oh my god, that would. If you're willing to go to a game 3, if you're straight up shelling out for the fun of it, if you're just
Well,
like,
can
dude,
they
we gotta
actually
send it,
wave clear? There's a Sivir.
they
wave
could.
clear. Maybe.
Actually, yeah, I can see it. However, their choice. I mean, if they do, that's huge. See, they go
On
for
the
it. They do
hunt top.
call on the hunt. Hana might be on the location.
On
No
a
flash
split.
for this Fiora, but there's the back line. Nice little cyclone, bounce over the wall. JKL looking, but only pop blossom on 2. Ilio's going on the take. Backline cyclone once more, but Yemeni is safe. It looks like they've done it. They got 2. They got 3. Fuel might not have found the right members though, as Ilio remains untouched. Double for this ADC. Guru is running for the hills, but my God, Fuel have found a light of their own in this dark time.
I mean, they have. Yemeni, is he going to be able to go for the steal? They don't see him in this bush. They finally found him. The W spots him out. He has to go for the smite steal.
He has, and no one's around as well. But
He's
the
not
top
gonna
side
get
is
it!
really where it's at. They're going to sack the dragon and take the inhibitor. A call that I feel needed to be made crazy.
Okay, it ends up going down. I thought for a minute the minions weren't going to focus it. But yeah, inhibitor gets claimed by Fanshawe Fuel. Soul gets claimed by UIUC. And Ilio, crucially, doesn't fall. It's a 2 for 3. Fuel win the fight, but they don't get the Zeri orbital. That is your #1 target, and it's so hard to find flank angles, even with the Chemtech Soul, where you've got the empowered blast cones. They haven't been able to find these angles, but they absolutely need to. This game lives and dies by Ilio, and the game is still alive for Fuel, but if just barely so. That inhibitor is going to do a lot for them to gain some priority around this Baron in about less than a minute.
I mean, 100%. I wasn't even keeping eyes. I was too excited for the fact that Fuel might have found something in that battle. But you are 100% correct. Where is the ADC? Did you get the ADC? Did you get their GA? Did you get the QSS? Did you get their Flash? Did you get your Ghost? That is 4 things you got to keep track of. That is a lot going on right now, and Yemeni has that and more. 3 bearing down on the mid lane here. UIUC sprinting their way to a challenge at this point, and a slow collapse from Fuel pulls them off straight to the top side.
Yeah, now, I mean, mid lane, inner brick gone here for Fanshawe Fuel. UIUC with complete control of this top side. They're going to move on toward the Baron. And with full vision of the area, I mean, Fuel have to face check into them, and that is just a very dangerous thing to do. Sure, you've got a lot of frontliners, but UIUC have got a lot of burst, and most importantly, Ilio does have that Guardian Angel backup. Doesn't have Flash, but there's just so many defenses at this point. Like, who's counting?
Right. I mean, at this point, you just know you got to kill Ilio about 5 times in one fight. Good luck for you.
Pretty much. And
Baron
you've got to
number
get through,
3.
like, full Prop 4 Netherite armor in order to do so on the front line.
With like, at best, a diamond sword. Unenchanted, by the way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like,
Good luck.
I don't know if you got the enchantments back there. What you do have is a possible trip-up attack here as Yemeni trying to fight Third Full Sugar trying to fight, and it turns to Horus.
Yemeni is too
forcing out
far.
2608. Ilio turns it onto Yemeni, who immediately exits town, but Hana is
Hana's
now
alone.
caught out as the Flash is lost. And once again, Quacks, you are correct. Live by Ilio, die by Ilio, and
Ilio-
was nowhere near Hannah and anyone else.
Ilio crucially burned ultimate there. Doesn't have the flash, doesn't have the ultimate. Fanshawe Fuel want to go for the Baron, but a teleport from Third Full Sugar. This Aurora is back to full HP. They aren't going to actually 50-50 it. They're going to try and turn. This is a dangerous fight for both teams, but it's probably going to end the game right here, Orbital.
It's 4 ultimates down. JKL looking for the pop.
He got it!
It's stolen! 2608 says, guys, let's go! However, Boo is untouched in the back line. Ilio untouched as well. Yemeni doing their best impression. A kill! They've got the Ilio down for 50 and more. Boo is on the chase, but Baron crucially
They got Ilio!
stolen the other way.
Teleport!
TP into the back line. Are you kidding me? Horus might have lost
Oh!
the Baron, but says, guys, I might have the base. Guru, hold him steady. Hana able to get back as well. It won't be a game ender. Third Full Sugar able to stave off more. 4 dead for Fuel, but UIUC, they get the Baron for themselves on 2.
And now Horus has to run for the hills. He has the empowered recall, but it's not going to matter. It's going to get canceled here. He's just not long for this world. Fiora is the tank killer, and that's a good thing.
Oh my god!
What?
That was 1.8. I'm pretty sure. That, I swear, was 1.8 HP in there. And Hana got deleted. That is one Baron buff on third full sugar.
Yup,
Quacks,
he's the
what
only
is this
guy.
game?
I'm looking 1275 to champions or to 1820. Wow, that's absurd. Almost 2,000 for objectives means that it's not a 50-50 anymore. I mean, that's a combined basically 3.5k damage on objectives when you factor in Yemeni's smite as well. You're not outsmiting that at this point in the game. So UIUC have to make sure that they are first to the objectives from here on out. They can't be the ones vying for control like they just were with the Baron. 2608, him getting that Nasher probably saved the game, because if Horus TPs and has Nasher, he at least gets a turret there.
Yeah, and by the way, 2608 did it against what you just called out. The almost 3k in true damage to an objective. 2608 got away with daylight robbery. You know you're not getting that chance again. That was a snipe in the dark. You took it and nailed the bullseye. Fuel, for their own, are not going to allow this to happen once more. Maybe the vision isn't truly there, but you do have enough understanding that you're going to roam as a squad. It's a 4-man squad. HDK clears the top side, but inside of this brush, it is Horus looking for their own, but this is a catch out in favor. Oh my god!
Oh, okay.
Full sugar, full sugar. Rest
He
of
missed
the 2608 can't go over the wall. That feels bad.
That definitely does feel bad. It's a big chunk onto third full sugar. He should be able to regen and get back to the fight by that time, though. But Feast is on such a low cooldown, it'll be up for the next fight as well. Crucially, though, you have to look at Ilio. Has flash.
All right, Ilio full build is looking for JKL, able to get a snipe on two. Ilio's able to run through the back line, but look on the top side, 2608, forced out of the battle. This is a fight on two different ends. It is Boo to come out with the victory. Boo is now unleashed. Boomerang lands on multiple, taking a chunk out of each.
That's Jungler gone.
Yeah.
Jungler gone. Elder is up. Hana is looking, but he's completely sectioned off. Fuel are trying to close their jaw around this game, but Yemeni is walking too far up. He's got to be super careful. They're just going to try and end the game. Cancel the backs. Stop the ports.
It ain't gonna happen. They're too far gone, and I appreciate this call. You looked at the inhibitor. Inhibitor does go down. You're able to, but now you draw a TP. Oh, it's in such a bad spot.
God.
This bad spot. This is bad. Hana is able to get the repulse off, and maybe get the tank. Horus is gonna try and help, but there's a feast. Yemeni over the wall. Ilio is still alive, but you've lost your front line, so now you have to scatter. What a weird ultimate for third full sugar, though. It draws
the dragon reset.
But it's the Elder. It's Elder that we're looking at. Quacks, what is going on? I cannot imagine. But no jungler means this time it will be fuel to secure the execution dragon needed.
The death timers are too long. 2608 got caught, and UIUC weren't able to return fire. Ilio is looking so aggressively in these plays, but it just feels like the peel, particularly from the knockup on the Cho'Gath, that rupture is doing so good at slowing down the Zeri in a lot of these fights. So credit to Horus for constantly landing those on a target like Zeri. Now, though, Elder is here. Inhibitor minions, or super minions, are here. They're looking for a last charge. 3v5. Towers are turned off.
They are, but it's all about Boo shredding through the enemy side. Ilio is still alive. Tower is gone. They got Ilio. Ilio is down. Vito will have fought back and will take the series here in Div 2 of NECC.
A 46-minute back and forth banger. The lesson to be learned here is, even though Ilani might be dropping down to the lower bracket, I want more of this League of Legends. I don't know who Ilani are going to be facing in the lower finals, but please win so a rematch is possible.
Never give up. I think that's the 3 words I want to end it by. I want more of that from everyone. Fuel. Never giving up. They lost grasp of the game in the middle to late game, an area that they were proud of. Drew it back in their favor. For UIUC, once again, small mistakes at the very end caused a loss at the end, but they did so well to recollect an Ilios or Ilio, what a majestic showing on this Zeri, a champion that might not be within the meta, but for sure is a threat to be reckoned with.
And I'm looking at the damage graphs right here that our lovely,
Oh my God, I
illustrious
don't wanna look.
producer provided for us. 76,000 damage on Vizeri. And I think a lesser appreciated damage stat here is Boo coming out with 61k. The Sivir had a really rough game for like 80% of this match. But I think once we saw that Baron Steel fight come through, the Sivir did manage to get a pop-off play. And finally returned some fire that they have been waiting to throw down for a majority of that match up until that point. So credit to everyone, honestly. Like, this was a really close match. This was a very close 2-0, even though it was one team winning both games. This was a super exciting game to play, I would imagine, and a very exciting game to cast.
There are series, Quacks, where we sit there and go, this is the most boring 3-2 we've ever seen. Versus one of these where it's like, this was an awesome 2-0. My lord, if you are not excited for the NECC playoffs for League of Legends or any of the titles that the NECC holds, I don't know what's gonna get your blood pumping. Listen, the NECC feeds into the Forge Trials, and more teams will be looking for their grand finals stand. It will be Fanshawe Fuel to claim their spot in the grand finals to face off and look for the crown, and we'll see which team will be facing off against them in the near future. However, we are done here for the evening for the NECC side of things. Tomorrow will be Overwatch action at 7 p.m. EST, so make sure to tune into all that glory. However, Quacks, thank you so much for stepping in here today, and honestly, I swear you almost just magnified and, you know, I think manifested the chaos here today. I want to, any parting words about this?
Nope. Thank you for having me on. Really good look from both teams. Hope to see the rematch and hope to be on NECC again sometime. Thank you, RMC, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Orbital, for being my co-caster. And yeah, really fun time being here.
All right. Well, with that, we'll sign off. Thank you so much. Shout out to Chippy and Caddy on the production. Appreciate all y'all, and to all the viewers at home. Stay safe out there and have a good night.
Forge Trials is presented by the Army National Guard.
Do this. I got this under control. You think you do, but you really don't know that I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save